in the kingdom of which Jesus spoke. My kingdom is not of this world, but that kingdom is more real than this world ever thought of being, because that's God's consciousness and His power. Those are the fields of white which are ready for harvest, the consciousness of God which you can see at this point, plus His power, and greatest of all, plus His love. And finally, we can acquire true wealth of spiritual realization. But to do this, we must first fully surrender to God. Fully surrender to God, and when we do that, what do we attain? We open up the channel for those superior motive forces of spirit. If God is with us, there's nothing we cannot do, but alone we can do very little. And so the first step is to fully surrender to Him. Set your heart to understand and then mean it. You cannot fool with God. God is not mocked. He knows our very thoughts, our very actions. He knows whether we're trying to fool Him or fool anybody, because He's our own consciousness. And so the first thing, we must surrender to Him fully. Then the channel is opened up. The channel not for worldly forces, but the channel for the supreme spiritual forces of God's consciousness itself. That's the first thing. And then the next thing, the next step is, as I have said, work and labor. Work and labor for it. Spiritually discipline yourself. Get that realization. And what is that realization? God contact. And if you know God is with you, what do you care for anything else? Nothing. That's the greatest thing, is to know God is with you, not in an imaginary way, but in a real way. Know His power, His strength, greatest of all, His love is with you. If you have this, if you know your Heavenly Father is with you and is watching your every motion and is supplying you with everything you need in spite of the trials you go through, then whether you are sick or not, whether you have anything or not, whether you have no place to lay your head or whether your friends all leave you and you have not a friend left, it doesn't make any difference, because if you have God, if you have His great consciousness and His light and His love, you have everything. And you surely have laid up true spiritual wealth. Now this is Father's Day, as I understand. I guess I happen to be one, so I should say a few words about Father's Day. But what can we say? We have the example right before us of the one Father. The one Father. One time I went to the Master, I've told you this, but we can tell it again. I went to him in trouble and I couldn't ruffle him at all. And when it was smoothed out, I said, I wish I had the stability and the calmness you have, sir. He says, remember, Doctor, the same Father who protects me protects you. He is our common Father. And so we have the example of the common Father who protects His children, especially if we let Him. And so each one of us, as a father, should try to protect his children, his family, as a true father should. But then, on the other hand, we should remember Jesus' words when He said, He looked out and said, Who is my mother? Who are my brothers and sisters? And He could have said, who is my Father? And He pointed to the disciples and He said, all these who do the will of God, they are my brothers and sisters, mother and father. And so that's what the true father should be. We should look after not only our own family, but we should look after every other one of God's disciples as a true father, as God looks after us. And He is watching over us. And is kind to us, as the Master said, more than we can imagine. So should we, as fathers, look after one another, realizing that they are all, or we are all, God's children, under the one common Father, having Him we have everything. Having that relationship with Him, then we will be able to watch over our children, whether they are our own or members of the great family.
In order to profit from these practical teachings in a meaningful way, which will have a definite and tangible impact in your life, we suggest that you subscribe to the Self-Realization Fellowship's home study course on the science of yoga. Please visit the SRF on the web at yogananda-srf.org or call the SRF's Mother Center in Los Angeles, California at 323-225-2471.